In Turkey, they are refugees. They are not wanted. They are treated badly. And you did not know how badly they were treated until you saw with your own eyes when you went to see them in Istanbul in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about that? What was your perception and what was your reaction when you saw your family in Turkey?
You know, I think my visit in 2014, even though hearing like their struggle on the phone and seeing in the news, to me, you know, it was scary. Oh my God, you know, we always feel sorry for them. We try to help them. But when I went there, it changed my life. It really changed my life because it was not just my own family. And it's not just Turkey, to be honest, everywhere. It happened in Jordan, it happened in Lebanon, and everywhere they flee those Syrian. They've been treated very, very badly. Turkey, it's add up more because Turkey, the language, they don't speak the language. At least Lebanon and Jordan, they speak Arabic. I was walking in the street and in the park, and I saw families. They have no home. They are sleeping in the park. I remember, I would never forget that boy, 5 years old. I was walking and he did like this in my pants, and I'm looking at him, and he said, Auntie, please, we are hungry. Can you give me money? I want to buy bread. And I just shake my hand, I hid, and I was like, sweetheart, why? Where is your mom? Where is your father? And he said, here is my mom. And I went there. I sit with the wife, and then her husband actually, you know, he didn't get killed in Syria. He got killed fleeing Syria with his family. They lost him in the road when they were fleeing. So the woman has baby, 1 year old, and this 5 years old. And I said to her, Auntie, why you are in the park? Like, why you don't go to the refugee camp? She doesn't have to tell me this because my family, I know they tried, they couldn't.
Mm-hmm. The camps were full.
Full, overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And she said to me, well, they can't take us. And I said, well, where do you sleep? And she has just a sheet like this. And she said, 3 of us, we sleep in the park. And I said, it's September. What are you going to do in the winter come? She said, God will look after us. So I did what I can. I have 4 family to support. I'm not a rich person. But I start seeing the pain on those people's eyes. I start to wake up because we are living 10,000 a mile far away from that reality.
And you agree to send money to Abdullah to smuggle his family out. It is an act of desperation on your part, and it's a desperate plea from him because there are individuals who make it to Greece across the Mediterranean. How difficult was it for you to make that decision to send the money for smugglers?
I can't describe the word, the right one, to anybody because they don't live what my family went through and many other people, same as my family. The decision when I sent him the $5,000, that guilt, I will take it to my grave now. But I was helping my family. I didn't want them to provide that wing so they can die, no. But I take it that way because they were desperate. And there is nothing we turn and begging for help. The world was silent, nobody listening. And that's what happened. You give up hope and you take another road. You don't want to give up hope,
And the hope was only Europe. Everybody was doing it, thousands of them. I watch it in my comfortable living room. I watch the news, people drowning, but the lots of people, they made it. But I said, that's the only hope. Here is the 5,000. And if I didn't, they could be alive now. But they were happy. I remember exactly the phone call with my sister-in-law, Rihanna.
You had missed a lot of texts, and you knew something was wrong. And finally, you got through to your sister-in-law. How did you react when she told you the news?
At that moment, it was like, I couldn't sleep. I know they're going. He texts me, they're leaving tonight. God willing, pray for us and tell my family and everybody. I wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm looking at my phone, and I saw dozens of missed calls from my family, and I knew right away, the feeling, my heart was beating, and I couldn't even open it. I was shaking that something terribly happened because my family would not call me from everywhere, all of them, 100 times, and even they know that the time different. I called my sister Shireen in Damascus, the first one I click, and I call her, and the signal was so bad that I couldn't understand anything until I heard Abdullah's name, and she sounded crying, Abdullah, and cutting, and I scream like so loud that what's wrong with Abdullah, and she can't tell me. So anyway, by that first scream, what's wrong with Abdullah, I wake up my husband. He ran to the kitchen. He said, what's wrong? And I'm sitting in a chair. I didn't hear the news yet. Nothing. I'm sitting in a chair. Something wrong with Abdullah. Something wrong with the family. And he said, call them. And I said, you call them. I can't even open it. I'm shaking. I'm crying. And finally, he called my sister-in-law in Turkey. And the minute I call her, she's crying. And I said, why are you crying?
That photo of Alan Kurdi changed the world. Did you know, where were you when you saw that photo, and did you know that was your nephew right away?
I was in my living room after that, 2 hours later, and my sister-in-law, who was in Toronto, forwarded. He told her the news about my family. Then she forwarded. She said to my husband, I'm gonna send you this photo, but don't show it to Tima. I don't know, if you could ask her if she knows this boy. It's all over the news. And Rocco, he came, my husband, and he said, I said, there is any news in the internet about this, about their boat? And he said, there is something, but I don't know if you want to see it. It's really, really image you cannot see. And I grab it from his hand, and I'm looking at it, and that's when I scream, and I said, oh my God. I wasn't sure who was that boy, but I know that red t-shirt and that short, and I remember the shoes. September, the previous September, in my visit, they were trying, to enter Turkey. When ISIS invaded Kobani, they were fleeing. They were at the border. I bought him that clothes from the free market. And I said, they are big for him now, but he will wear it next summer. And Rocco said to me, my husband, are you sure you know this boy? I said, I'm not sure, but I recognize those clothes. And he looked like Abdullah's son. And he said, this is impossible. So I forwarded it to my sister-in-law, And she said, this is Alan.
Tima, after the world saw that photo, after your news conference in which you made an appeal for our government to do more, they couldn't save your nephew, but they could save others. Canada opened its borders, accepted 25,000 Syrian refugees. Does that help you heal at all, knowing that from that tragedy that there was this good?
Absolutely. From the first phone call with my brother that day, when he cried to me, he was still in the hospital, and he said, did you see the picture of my son? And I said, yes. And he said, it's the wake-up call to the world. And that's where he planted that seed in my heart. And that's when I decided I want to add to my voice to the world and scream to them and tell and said, if I couldn't save my own family, let's save the others. And that's what the choice I made. And instead of staying home and continue to cry, I chose to speak up. And that's something that gave me lots of healing. I opened doors to millions of refugees across the world. The boy on the beach, I was his voice. And he was the wake-up call to the world, but he was my wake-up call to say enough suffering, and we need to do something. And that's what I do now.